Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I'm your host, Andy.
Yeah, nice. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Way to derail the opening. Jerk. That jerk sitting to my right is Hanna, everyone's favorite. I was doing such a good job.
I know
so
you
professional.
were. I was telling you about it. I had to tell you mid.
Yeah, jokes
opening.
are so much funnier when you explain them.
Yeah.
And our nice and quiet, not interrupting editor, producer, Fish. Yellow. See, that's how it's done, Hannah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting episode.
The greatest day ever.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting episode.
See, I was so prepared, too, because, like, the first episode I was thrown off because I wasn't expecting to record today.
Yeah.
No, like, totally knocked me off balance. What are we talking about today, Hannah?
So, we were just talking about tattoos.
We were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this related?
No.
Oh, all right.
Kinda.
Okay.
I'm going to come full
I'm like,
circle.
that is the craziest segue that we started somehow before the show.
It was almost related.
Okay.
So I asked Johnny. Donnie has come up with a couple random, like...
Donnie, your husband.
Yes. This couple random, like, last minute ideas before. Like, he's the one who suggested Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
Like, anytime I look at the list and feel, like, uninspired and or unprepared
I was
going to
say,
do
which
something.
is usually what happens when you look at the list. You're like, oh, we should add this to the list.
Yeah.
And then nothing on the list gets done.
Yeah. So...
That wasn't a crack at you. But I mean,
No, but, like, sometimes I look at something and I'm like, I'm not ready to do it yet.
Yeah.
Or, like, I didn't give myself enough time. Like, whatever, right? So he was like, why don't you do, like, the history of tattoos in Massachusetts? And I was like, so Donnie, for people who don't know,
it's a tattoo artist.
he's a tattoo artist. Can we plug him really quick?
Yeah. Yeah.
He works at Brass Lantern.
Yeah.
Right.
Kyle
off-
Powers' studio.
Yes.
Friend
right.
of the show.
Yeah.
Friend of Inebri-art.
So right off
Amazing
of,
artist.
Main Street. And, but he was like, why don't you do that? And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I pulled it up, just like quick Google of that. And I was like, yeah, I don't have enough time to talk about this at all.
Because it was a big deal. So, yeah.
Huge. So not just it getting legalized.
Because it only got legalized maybe...
In 2000 or something.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 20 years ago is what I was going to say.
But prior to that, it was legal like 40 years beforehand. Mm-hmm. So it like became illegal at one point. So that was a big deal. But even before then, like it was a big deal in Boston. There was like a very American traditional setup. I don't want to get into it right now. You want to know why? You're going to hate me for this because it's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
So
I believe I asked, what are we talking about
Yes.
today? Not, what are we not talking
we're
about
not
today?
talking about that. But
So did you add tattoos to the
yeah,
list,
so
Fish?
we can add the...
Because
Yeah.
apparently we're not talking about that today, even
was
though
a-
we're talking about it.
It was a lot, and I was like, oh, I really
Well,
don't
let
have
me-
time
let
to
me
get
get
into
I like
this.
how she's like, I'm going to interrupt and ruin your opening and then just
Keep going.
totally derail the show
Yeah.
entirely.
So,
This is the April Fool's episode, isn't it?
so I looked at the I went back to the list, and I saw pond names in Plymouth,
Okay.
and I was like, well, that's interesting.
We were probably talking about Billington Sea, and we're like, ooh, let's do more of that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot into it, but I thought we'd digest the ponds of Plymouth anyway.
You're just going to list the names?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to get something to eat.
Yeah.
You let me know when this is done.
No, we're not doing that, but we are going to talk a little bit about the ponds of Plymouth, why they're very important. Not the neighborhood. I'm not talking about the ponds of Plymouth neighborhood.
I didn't know that wasn't in.
It's in South Plymouth. It's the bane of my existence. If you ever
Okay.
have an address off of Lund's Way, don't even go there.
Apparently, you can stop listening now.
Oh my God. I hate the ponds of Plymouth. Anyway, it's a big development.
Okay.
From a long time. It was built a long time ago.
Okay.
It was what just like the rest of Plymouth was. It was like just old growth pine barrens, and then they bulldozed most of it. There's not a lot of lots that like left up any trees. So when
Yeah.
you like go drive through a majority of it, it's like just barren with these big houses on it, and
Yeah.
you're like, this looks terrible. I don't know. I hate it. Besides that, I always
But
get
we're not talking about that today either.
no. But there is a pond there that we're going to talk about. Do you guys know how many ponds Plymouth has? Don't Google it.
A wicked lot.
Several.
More than 3.
Oh, you're not. Neither one of you are giving me the answer.
All right. Are we going to do Price is Right rules? Closest without going over?
No, you don't need to guess
Because one
because
of us would say 1 pond.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then the other person might still be closer because the other person could say 3 ponds.
you know what? Go ahead, guess. I've changed my mind.
Hannah's really salty. Not today, just this episode. All right, Fish, go ahead. Guess.
41.
Oh, I'm going to say 103.
Oh, Andy would be closest.
Ha!
Wait, did Andy go over?
No.
Oh.
So Plymouth is very much.
See, I can't say what I want to say because it's a family show.
Very much known for its ponds. But what Plymouth has been known for its ponds specifically is at one point, this is where I got really thrown off, Plymouth had as many ponds as days per year. So there were 365 ponds in Plymouth.
Every 4 years, was there an extra pond?
Yes. But that's added up.
Yes, that is a leak pond.
It was the fact that she said yes that kind of threw me. So, yeah, of course. Only frogs live there.
So apparently every 4 years that one extra pond has added up because I just Googled it last night just to be like, I know. I was like, if you live in Plymouth, that's like a saying. Like if you grew up, you're like, yeah, 365 ponds, one for every day of the year. It's like common knowledge.
Yeah.
I looked it up. We have 450 ponds.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
So we've gotten more. Plymouth has a lot of what used to be, what's the word? Fish, you might be able to help me out. The ponds that only come
Like
up in
vernal
spring.
pools?
Thank you. Had a lot of vernal pools, like in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
where I grew up.
My mom's
Were
gonna be
they-
so proud of me for knowing that.
Were they
Yes.
above ground or in ground vernal pools?
They were above
I've always
ground,
wanted like
so
an
I never went.
indoor vernal pool.
I never went. Whenever someone would tell me they were having a pool party,
Yeah.
I'd go to visit it. I'd go, oh yeah, sounds good. Do you have in ground or above ground? They go above ground. I go, actually, I'm busy.
Well, I guess Hannah's never coming over to swim at my house, and that's fine.
I'm not picky about it now. I just thought it was a funny joke to
Yeah.
make. So I didn't have a pool growing up. But what I did have was a pond. Not
Yeah.
personally, but I lived on a pond. I lived on.
There's one like almost behind where
Yeah.
we're sitting right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Lovely swans there.
I lived on Kings Pond, which is one of the recreational ponds in Plymouth.
Not
So
one of those business ponds.
it has a
Oh, I was going to say
a
medicinal
neighborhood
pond.
beach.
But okay.
It has neighborhood beach accessibility, and you're able to take battery powered engines on it,
Oh, yeah.
not gas powered. So, what was I gonna? Where was it? Ponds. Oh, vernal pools. So in my neighborhood, we had a lot of vernal pools. A lot of the ponds.
I mean, for our listeners who
Yeah.
might not know what a vernal pool is.
It's a pond that a
our
small,
listeners that
shallow
don't know what
area
that
of
is.
water. It varies so much in size, but depends on rainfall in the springtime, and it's really just like a springtime pond, like a little area or big.
It's
area.
a puddle with pretension.
Yes.
Because basically
so
it'll
it's a
fill
pond that flies south for the winter.
Yeah,
up or dries out for the winter, but yeah.
It dries south for the winter.
They're very
I like that.
important to like the amphibious
Sure.
life.
Yeah. Okay.
But also it becomes like it's capable of sustaining that life while they grow up in it. So it's like vernal pool is very special because it's life preserving versus just a regular puddle. So it like does very quickly become an area that can sustain life.
Got it.
Not all puddles can do that. So one thing about Plymouth is a lot of the ponds are glacier made. So I know that's like everywhere, but they have kettle ponds as well as so kettle pond is what helps some areas make vernal pools.
They're basically divots, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll notice you'll have a pond and then maybe alongside of it there might be some shallower bodies of water.
Okay. All right.
So those are like kettle ponds. They can vary very much in how deep they are though, because it can look like a divot and be 5 feet deep.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're very deep. So where I lived in Kings Pond, which is not very deep, you can pretty much walk across the whole pond. There might be an area like very, very in the middle that was like over your head.
Yeah.
Depended on the rainfall of the year. I can like look it up right now, but I'd be hard pressed to think it was over like 12 feet at any point. So that had a lot of areas that would have been considered like kettle ponds, very close to it.
Okay.
And they would dry up or like fill up with water depending on what was going on. And that's a lot of ponds in Plymouth. So I think that's why some of them are just now considered ponds, because with like so much erosion over the years and like just groundwater collection, they've just become ponds themselves.
Oh, interesting.
That's like, I'm like, who can explain this mass increase in ponds? I was like, it was 365. It's always been 365. So now it's 450. So just some I don't know, some theory on that. It's what makes sense to me because it's just what I've grown up with. We had a meadow. How many yards? Maybe a football field away. Not even a football field away from the pond, the main pond. So it once had water in it. Was very clearly looked like that too. Mm-hmm. But now it just had like tall grass, and next to it was a kettle pond.
Yeah.
And it was very deep, to the point where I think actually someone said they just like operated it as a well because it was spring fed.
Yeah.
And so you'd look and it was like you'd see like the first 2 feet and then black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we never went in it. It scared the living daylights out of me. But eventually that overflowed, and then it just
made the meadow
filled out the meadow.
Oh, okay.
And made it a like huge pond again. So now that's just there. So I'm like, it's been a body of water since I got to enjoy it from infancy until the 5th grade, and then it filled with water, and it's been filled with water ever since. So, so I have to imagine that logic applies.
Happened elsewhere. Yeah.
Yes, because we've just got ponds popping up every day. That leap year pond just keeps getting added. So within the ponds, there's obviously lots of natural life, but kind of tough for some ponds because a lot of our ponds are choked out by invasive species. So if you've like ever looked in and seen like a very like furry looking weed in a pond.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like I believe it's
I don't
an
spend
Asian
a lot of time
plant.
at ponds, right?
I know, I was like, I'm going to ask them this. And, and then I literally was like, they don't go to the ponds.
I didn't grow up around here, so.
I at least know what pond, like, I at least...
Yeah, no, you got
I know
it.
what a pond is.
Yeah.
So
we just had one in Whitman.
There's
Hobart's pond.
That's
and they were dredging it, so it was just a big mud
pile.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Andy, I have a lake.
Yeah. Oh, do you guys know the difference between a lake and a pond?
Yes.
One's bigger than the other.
That's literally it. Yeah.
Basically.
At one point, I think sometimes it has to do with it is if like you can see if like sunlight touches the bottom or something like that. But
I know I've also heard like if a river leads to it and from it, or if it's so deep or so. But basically, if it's big enough that people say lake, it's a lake.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone named it Lake.
Yeah. But
because the Nip is a pretty sorry lake.
Is that where you're near your
Lake
hood?
Nip, Nicket, in Bridgewater.
Okay, I didn't know about it.
Oh, never.
I'm learning about a new pond. So
Lake.
Sorry, I'm learning about a new lake. We have a lot of invasive aquatic plant species. Sure. And it chokes out life to the point where like the ponds become lifeless and dead.
Yeah.
Or like mess up like the oxygen levels so much that they become lifeless. So besides that, like, is there a remedy to it? Yes. We used to rake the pond, but literally like take one of those old things you like hook up to like an ox.
Oh yeah.
And like someone would like
drag it through the lake.
and drag the pond. But we did that on our own. Like that wasn't the town doing that. And without doing that weed takes up every single inch of like whatever's on the bottom of the pond.
Yeah.
So usually it's like muck. It's crazy. So a lot of the ponds are stocked for fish.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
I did.
So part of like
No fishing is big around here.
yes,
Yeah.
I'd
I
say
have not been in any of the ponds of Plymouth, to my knowledge.
okay.
Well, I'm the only fish here. I'm not being stalked.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You want?
You don't know. Fans could be like following you. Get it? Stock. Fish.
So most of our ponds that are like recreational, which of the 450, really there's a lot of recreational ponds in Plymouth.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not all 450 ponds. So you can look online. I have like the Plymouth Pond like breakdown website in front of me. You can look and see like when the last time a pond was stocked.
Yeah.
And like from that, like guess like I don't like fish will survive on their own, but really not that much with the amount of fishing permits we put out
Right,
there
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Like or fishing licenses rather. So I just think it's so funny. I believe one of my friends one time said they saw like a plane like go by and just like
dump
drop
fish out of it.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And he's like, I have a podcast edit.
yeah. So there's like a little bit of a like people are getting these fishing licenses, and there's like we need to fulfill like the
Right.
license. So like they do stock ponds, which I think is interesting with all different types of fish. So fish that might not, all of them like they're not like stocking them with like beta fish or anything like that. They're fish that belong here, but fish that might
Ooh,
not.
goldfish.
Yeah.
Parmesan.
They might not end up in there naturally. Not naturally occurring
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like, natives to the pond or whatever.
Something that might be invasive if it wasn't going to get fished up in 6 weeks.
Yeah. But I mean there's big mouth bass or largemouth bass, catfish, pickerel, trout.
Sure.
Yeah, all the above. You guys fish at all
the
growing
fish?
up?
No.
Now, since I caught my friend's little brother, I decided I was done.
I went
That'll
like
happen.
one time to try it out. It was like,
Yeah. I used to fish all the time, but I don't anymore. I've turned it down. I've turned away. I've cut back. I've seen the light. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have any opinions on
Okay.
fishing. I just don't feel like doing it. So I had something else about the aquatic life of ponds. I don't know what it is that allows. I think it's the size of the pond and like the neighborhood and like what gets passed probably at some process. But I know for like I said, the pond I grew up in only allowed for battery motors. And
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to have gas. And then some ponds you can have gas and have a boat that goes like.
it's got to be like
So
this
fast.
size.
I can't imagine sitting there. It's like, all right, I've got this speedboat. I'm going to get in and I'm going to gun it
So that happens though.
83 feet across the
Yeah.
pond. It's like, why?
People
There-
would still do it.
They
Oh,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's dumb.
So there are ponds that like Fresh Pond is off Bartlett Road in Manamet.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at that, I'm like, there definitely should not be motorized gas motors allowed in here, and they are. And I'm sure there's like a horsepower, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is still so crazy. It's not a big pond. It's so wild to me. So we talked about Kings Pond. We mentioned Fresh Pond, Morton Pond. You guys
Yep.
ever been there?
Yeah, I used to live in Morton Park.
You did?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Where'd you live?
like right near that squirrel sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
like
cool.
right at the entrance. I like it a lot.
Love
Up
that.
a very steep driveway.
Yeah, the driveway was
I
murder.
can literally imagine all the houses right there, and I'm like, yeah, none of those are like good driveways.
Yeah, it was like the fourth one in
Yeah.
on the left. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it was a petrifying driveway.
Love that. So, Morton Pond,
Great place.
yes, very cool. Lots of trails. Billington Sea. That's what inspired this all. So that's literally right next to Morton Pond.
Yep.
Yeah. That is like a super accessible pond for boaters, for everything.
And it's
You
big.
It has a ramp.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
I
a
know.
sea
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's massive.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a sea. It's massive. That has something called has a few different things. It has invasive mussels in it.
Oh, okay.
So Morton Pond likely does too.
Yeah.
That comes from people like not cleaning their boats.
Oh, yeah.
Before putting it in.
Yeah.
So there's a few ponds that have the invasive mussels, freshwater mussels.
Are they edible?
Give it a shot.
Nope. No, listener. Do not just give it a shot. Do your research. No one on this podcast is recommending you eat anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Are they clams? I forget if they're clams. You find them like, they live more like clams, but where they're freshwater, they're different than the mussels we find in the ocean.
Yeah.
So, there's a part off of between Morton Pond and Billington Sea. It's called Hospital Point.
Mm-hmm.
If you live on the other side of Billington Sea and you don't know like how it looks like people are like standing in the middle of the pond because it's a sandbar that goes so far out.
Yeah. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's in the part of Morton Park that's not vehicle accessible anymore. It used to be.
And it's all like trails up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's where you take the dogs for a walk.
Yes, that's where I take my dog for
great.
a walk.
It's a great place to walk your dogs.
Yes. Someone as back there fishing one day or in the area and they go, do you know goes, do you know where Tuberculosis Hill is? I was like, do you mean Hospital Point? I'm gonna use my context clues. I think that's what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, it's over there. Tuberculosis Hill.
I'm looking for a hepatitis mound.
Yeah. So Billington Sea got its name from one of the Billington boys.
He thought he was looking at the sea.
He thought he was looking at the sea. It's
It's very big.
It's big. To call it, it's a sea, technically, right?
Yeah.
We never changed it to a pond or anything like that. I think if we were going to name any pond a lake, it would be one of them. There's another huge one down in South Plymouth that I would be like, oh, this is pretty big. But, yeah, that's why. He literally, like, what they were on an adventure. He climbed a tree. He thought he saw another entrance to the ocean, thought it was a sea. And they named it after him because he made such a foolish mistake.
They're like, he's an idiot.
Yeah, as a child.
Make this last forever.
I mean, like, at some point you just take it because
if we can go with the indigenous name or point out that we're all idiots.
Yeah. That's how that one got that name. There's also a pond called Bloody Pond.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That is more in the Boot Pond, South Plymouth area.
Okay.
That one, I believe, is also recreational. Got its name from, I looked into it, they just assumedly like a...
like an algae bloom or something?
No, awful time in history where we were like probably the colonists or
murdering a bunch of people.
Murdering people, yeah. And it became an area of like bloody mess. And that's likely where it got its name.
Okay.
Other than that, unless someone can write me in and tell me like a fun story about other names of ponds, they really got it from what's the street? Like
whose property it was.
Yes, like okay, who lives on this road? Like what's the name? What's
like
the name
Macacia
of that?
Pond and Macacia Pond Road.
Yeah. And it's like, what was that named after? Okay, it was this guy. Like it's all nothing super.
Although it's fun to get directions to Macacia Pond.
Macacia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying it very funny.
Well, I don't say it nearly as funny as GPS does.
Macacia.
Macacia.
So I lived off. I'm obviously from West Plymouth, but I lived off Black Cat. Mm-hmm. Macacia Pond is where another pond I would go.
I feel like I'm saying the same thing.
You were saying Macacia.
Macacia.
Sha.
Yeah.
It's J. Macacia.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right.
Macacia. And I went. Yeah. That was like where my bus would go. We'd have to go to Macacia Pond Heights.
Yeah.
Turn around. Felt very sick on that bus route. So it was so hilly. But Macacia Pond has another example of a kettle pond.
Oh, okay.
Right next to it. There's Macacia Pond and Little Macacia Pond.
Oh, okay.
You'll find that all over the
Creative
place.
name.
Yes. And then there's West Pond and Little West Pond. And if you look,
double down on
they're almost.
Very low
if you look at the maps, they're like almost connected. Both of these ponds. Actually, I think West Pond has just completely joined with Little West Pond at this point. So
really, they should be called Big West Pond.
Yeah.
Or that 456 should be 455.
Take it down one.
Yeah.
It's 450, so it's like 449.
449.
All right. Well, let's start a petition, kids.
I'm trying to think of like all the other. I don't know. There's some big ponds in Plymouth, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. White Island Pond. We live on like near that, and it touches like.
Do you know what pond this is? Like right here.
Hedge Pond.
Hedge pond. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty easy.
I don't know. Jeez.
Just threw it out.
I'm new here.
No. So that's Hedge School.
Hedge pond, you idiot.
That's Hedge Pond.
Then she slapped the drink out of my hand.
Hedge Pond is actually back in the woods a little bit. There's like a walking trail back there.
Oh, so it's not?
No, I just felt like I felt like being fresh, like Fresh Pond. I was just thinking of that because I'm like, that could just be another example of what I was telling y'all. 7-Eleven. No, Hedges Pond. I was right. Stone Pond is the other pond. Oh, so that is, yeah. That's,
it looks like Hannah's not so right all the time.
well, I was right about...
Listener, why is she even your favorite?
Sorry. My first answer was correct. But yeah, it's Hedges Pond, and the other one is Stone Pond. But you can see it right here.
Yep.
And then like those two little guys. And that one doesn't even have a name. Sorry, I'm way away from there.
I was say, us looking at a map is great radio.
Yeah, whatever.
Ooh. Ah.
Whatever.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean,
it's very weird though, because like I had no idea that ponds were a thing in Plymouth until I moved here.
That's wild. There's a lot.
Like I feel like locals are just like, what do you mean you don't know that there's a good bajillion ponds?
I know.
Because most of us don't spend a lot of time thinking of ponds when they think of Plymouth, because it's not.
You think of Plymouth Rock, and then you get disappointed, and you're like, yeah, whatever.
Like, well, we have this pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, there's like 450 ponds, people are like, ooh. And then show up, and there are 450 ponds that are impressive.
Yeah. I'm like looking at this. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's probably, of all these that I'm looking at, these are all like usable ponds that have a beach of some kind. This is easily like 50, which is pretty wild.
Yet everyone goes to Morton Park
Yeah.
on 4th of July. And your dog will get up at 3:30 in the morning when people are lined up at the street playing their radios and stuff. And you're
Isn't
like,
that
shut
wild?
up.
So the Miles Standish State Forest has a lot of ponds.
Yes.
Yeah. Curlew's one of them. And that one has like a secret entrance that you have to like sneak into. And they definitely like threaten to tow your car if you're parked in like a weird area.
Really?
You can really only get to it if you have if you're camping there.
Ah.
Or if you like if you have a house on the pond or whatever. A cottage. But yeah, there's a lot of freaking ponds in Plymouth.
It's very pondy.
Yeah. Do you guys know what
slowly
the pond...
sinking into the...
It's just going to be a lot of... more water than anything. It's water.
Everyone
world.
just standing on the top of Burial Hill being like, how are you not here?
It has just morphed into water world. Oh my gosh.
Plymouth, the Venice of New England.
Yeah. Have you... Okay. Do you guys know what... We'll do some little bodies of water tests. You're doing pretty good so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, with Morton Park. It's pretty good.
I live there.
Yeah. Well, I'm just
Yeah, I feel I'm handicapped on this one.
Do you know what the pond is called by the gristmill?
Is it Jenny Pond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. We got it.
Well, it's also the Jenny Gristmill, and one time Inebri-art podcast guest Hollow Turtle has a song called Jenny Pond.
Oh.
Check it out if you like bluegrass music. It's a good one. Goes like, and I don't really know how it goes. It's been a long time since I listened to it.
I do like bluegrass. I'll check it out.
They're good. They were best bluegrass band in Rhode Island years ago.
Wow. Do you know what the brook is that leads into Jenny Pond?
That leads into?
Yeah. It goes through Brewster Garden.
Oh, I thought it leads out of Bruce. Like,
isn't that just the town brook or whatever it's called?
Yeah,
Oh, see,
you got it.
I was confused because I thought that was leading out.
No, it goes in.
From the ocean? Goes in?
Does it run through?
Oh, it runs through. Sorry, yeah, it's the opposite way.
All right, see, I was confused by your...
When you says run into, we assume that the water ends there.
Yeah. No, so, do you know, it comes from Billington Sea.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like, Billington Sea is just, like, up the road.
I guess, but not a lot of people
up the Billington
know that.
Sea Road.
But they had to do, like, a whole reconstruction of the area to return the town brook to its natural state.
Oh, really?
It used to be dammed, so about around the time they redid the skate park, there was a pond behind the skate park.
Oh, okay.
Big wall, and it was a dam that they had up. And who would have thought damming the town brook would have effects on
the herring?
Yes. So they got rid of that a while ago. So there's a trail that leads now.
It caused an issue, and then they were like, "Damn."
Yeah. So that dam had been there for a long time.
Yeah.
So they got rid of that, and there's now like a trail all the way, and it leads all the way into Morton Park, like the backside.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I knew that.
Yeah, but no, it's like done to be a trail now. So it wasn't before because there wasn't sidewalk access all the way to Morton Park, and now there is. This is a big thing.
When you say now,
yeah,
what time frame are you referencing?
Now?
This last year, they just connected the sidewalk.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm like, I feel like that was there.
No.
I've walked to Morton Park. Right?
You can easily have walked to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it wasn't accessible.
Easily, no.
Okay, I got you.
I'm not really in shape, but it's walkable.
Yeah.
Yes. No, it was not accessible for those who need sidewalks.
I got
you. That was like a big to do. I'm on the Morton Park Facebook page. So I'm up to date on all this stuff. But no, it really wasn't last
Listener,
year.
you can't say that. I was just making a snotty face at her.
It really was.
Like,
they redid all the sidewalks and like
know.
made it like an actual yes, this is the trail. Keep going. But that was a big thing. That was like returning it to its natural state, and now you can like really go. You can see the herring go all the way into Billington Sea.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. Just another one of the wonders of the.
When did do
here.
they start running soon? Do we
May.
know? May.
Yeah.
Okay. So not soon.
Not soon. No.
Yeah, it's always around my birthday.
I feel like this year's just flying by.
It's
already.
right when there's some magnolia trees along the town brook.
That's cool.
And when those are blooming, you'll see the heron running.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really. I just went on like I nerded out about the ponds for a little bit, but that's okay.
People in Plymouth love the ponds.
Yeah.
They super do.
Like Hanna, a person of Plymouth, went on for half an hour
With
about
no notes.
ponds.
All you need to do is go on to like
And it was
any of the,
off the top of her head.
You just have to go to any like Plymouth message board on Facebook and propose any kind of change at all to any pond anywhere, and people lose their minds.
Yeah. No, we take them very seriously. Even the pond near my house, White Island Pond, has a pond association that you have to like buy your way into, and I live too far out of the realm for that. I'm in walking distance, but I live too far.
You're not on the click though.
Yeah. You can't even like look at that pond if the lady who runs the association is there. She's like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "You're like
close your eyes when you walk by. Avert your gaze."
But people take those like tags so seriously when they're part of like the pond association, and that's like in other neighborhoods too.
Oh, Morton Park. When I lived there was a lot of like uproar about who should be there and who shouldn't be there. And
It's always that way. Yeah, it's always been that way. It's so wild. But that, I mean, could I go on about ponds longer? I probably could, but I will sound like Bubba from Forrest Gump. After a little bit, I'd be like, then you got Cook's
pond fajitas and pond
just
gumbo
listing all the and like at this pond.
And grits.
I caught 8 sunfish when I was 10 at this pond. Like I could just like obviously have a connection to a lot of ponds here, but they're a big deal.
Yeah.
And like I
I
said,
really like living in Morton Park. And
it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It was peaceful most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, great place to walk your dog. I loved it.
And just an update for everyone again. We no longer have 365 ponds. That slogan has been taken away from us.
And there are now
450.
I thought we said 449 because
we haven't
West.
We haven't stepped up to the plate and made it officially.
Yeah, I'll propose it.
We should start digging a new
They'll
one.
be like,
Let's make
get
a
out of
new one.
here. Where am I?
Let's just dig a new pond and call it the old colony pond.
Yeah, the old colony pond.
The old colony pond.
I like that. We'll do it.
This is the part where we start digging. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.